Hello, future millionaires and billionaires. Welcome to another episode of the Investor Chair. Today, I'm sitting with the wonderful SoulFairy, which you all love and follow on Twitter and TikTok, and always giving us the info around investment, saving, budgeting, basically dealing with money. And with my series of the Investor Chair, what we're trying to do to understand the people that always influence how we see and learn about money. The people who are building the culture of investing, the people who are building the culture of saving, the culture of being wise with your money, trying to understand your story, because everyone has a story to tell. And luckily, me and Soul have built a good friendship and finally have time to sit down and talk to you. For you, and my mic is running away. And for you, my friend, to share your story around how you became the person that you are, your story around money, how your parents influenced you, how your community influenced you, how even your relationship right now with your loved one, your child, and everything influenced the way you deal with money. Because stories like that is what help to shape South Africans. Those stories are what will help others to be motivated to tell their story. So guys, if you're new to my channel, please do consider hitting the like button, hit the subscribe button, because this conversation is going to be amazing. I can just feel it from the beginning. So guys, let's get into today's episode. So welcome, Soul. I call you Soul because that's how I knew you. That's how I first met you. But for those who don't know, who's SoulFairy? Like basically introduce yourself.
Okay.
You know, I don't love introducing people.
I know you never introduce anybody.
Yeah.
So my name is Rochelle. So some people call me Rochelle. That's my name. My friends gave me the nickname Soul, when I was in primary school. So when I started my social media accounts, Soul just stuck.
Yeah.
So if you call me Soul, I'm happy with it. If you don't. So I'm a chartered accountant, Ivan. I studied at the University of Stellenbosch. I've always been interested in money, and finances. I always knew I was going to be in the finance world. So I'm a chartered accountant by profession. I'm currently studying at the University of the Free State. Last year, I decided to change my qualification from chartered accountant to certified financial planner.
Ooh.
So I'm doing a complete career shift. My dream is to help people on a continuous, permanently.
Yeah.
I want to help people manage their money better and make better money decisions. I don't think there are enough financial planners who actually teach. The financial planning industry has a very bad name.
They want you to subscribe to plans, policies.
People see financial planners as product pushers, as people who only sell things to make commission, products that you don't need. I want to be known as the teaching financial planner. I want to make a change in the industry, and I want to help people who look like us and come from where we come from, because I think the biggest problem with the industry is that you need money in order to afford a financial planner. So I want people who earn very little money or don't earn money yet or need a side hustle or anything to do with finances to be able to book an appointment with me and have the courage to say, I need help. So that's who I am. I am a teacher at heart, and finances are my passion.
And that's interesting. Like one point that you mentioned there is people in the finance space that look like us and teach finance. Well, I think people sometimes, not to sound a little bit out of touch, but if someone is from the opposite skin color and about to teach finance to someone like me, they will not teach you the context of understanding the struggle that we go through as people of color, as black people in South Africa. And I love the fact that you're mentioning that. But let's go back to you. And because I know you're from Cape Town, you're born and raised in Cape Town. Let's talk about how coming from Cape Town shaped your understanding of money. Because you're from Bishop Levis.
I am from Bishop Levis.
Let's talk about that.
I'm a Cape Flats girl.
Yeah.
I was born on the Cape Flats.
Yeah.
I lived there my whole life, until I went to university. So, Bishop Lavis girl,
Yeah.
okay? I come from a very modest family. My mom was a factory worker until she stopped. My dad was a backyard mechanic, that fixes cars. We never had a home, Ivan, a house. We had a home wherever we were.
Yeah.
It felt like home. But I grew up in a shack, for most of my life, primary school life. We lived in a shack in my aunt's backyard. We were happy, I remember people always ask me, how did I first know, I loved finances.
Yeah.
So if you are from Cape Town or in South Africa and you're Afrikaans, you will know the Rapport newspaper. So on a Sunday, that's one of the luxuries we could afford. My mom would buy the newspaper.
Yeah.
And my dad and my brothers will take the sports
Side,
section. My mom takes the main side. My sisters take like the cartoons.
Yeah.
And then the only part that's left is the finance section. And here I am, 8-9 years old, and I'm reading about the Dow Jones. I have no idea what I'm reading. And I'm reading about the JSE, and it's so boring.
Yeah.
But when something is yours, especially if you're growing up in a family where you are one of 6 kids, and then there's also other kids living on the yard, my cousins, etc., etc. And then I had this one little thing that was mine, that nobody else wanted.
Yeah.
And it was the business section of the newspaper. And I started looking forward to it, even though I didn't know what the Dow Jones was. Or
But that's my thing.
That's my thing. So next week I'm going to read again about what's happening in companies and what's happening on the stock market and what's happening with the gold price. So it stuck with me.
Yeah.
There was a time I thought I was going to become a lawyer. Really? I wanted to be, there was the show called Murder, She Wrote. And that lady was so cool. And I thought, maybe I want to become a lawyer, or maybe I want to become a detective. But no, it wasn't meant for me. You are the lawyer, I'm not the lawyer. I was meant to become an accountant. And, I love what I do. So growing up in a family where things were also not easy all the time, I learned how to get by with less. So, and that is what I want to teach people is you can build wealth coming from where we come from. You can make the right choices. You can learn to live on less because we had practice of like,
we know how to struggle. We know how to struggle.
So now when we earn 50,000, why don't we live on 40 and save the other 10? Because we know how. We know how.
Survival is within us.
Survival is within us. And now we're no longer surviving. We can thrive with 40,000 or with 18,000 or whatever that amount is. We just need to build a culture. And my mom instilled that in us as put away a piece of your income. Please, you have to learn to live on less than what you make. No matter how much you make, learn on how to live on less. But with that said, I understand when a lot of people who are still there, like I have family that's still on the flats and that's still struggling, etc. And obviously I need to give back. So the concept of black tax,
comes in.
It's a very important topic. Is I often say to tell people, is it a blessing or is it a burden? It can be both. It can be a blessing. Black tax can be a blessing. It can be a burden. For me, I know when people say, they expect too much from me, then it becomes a burden. But we also need to learn to teach people our boundaries. And it's a very important discussion to have. So I'm not delusional that some people are struggling out there, but we need to take care of those who took care of us.
Yeah, and that's true. I love the fact that but sometimes someone talk about giving back to where we come from, there's a topic of saying, is it wrong to give back? Where I'm like, sometimes that doesn't need to be a conversation that is wrong or right. It's because we have a sense of obligation as people, especially to take care of those who took care of us, those who made us who we are.
Yes.
But there's no one who's self-made. I don't believe there's someone who said, I have risen to the top alone. You have not. No. Someone indirectly or directly has played a role in helping you. Whether it's just giving you love, whether it's through helping you understand. Even your father buying a newspaper every weekend, and for you to fall in love with a section of the business or the finance section, help you to who you are now today. Definitely. Imagine if your father was not buying that newspaper. Where would you have been now?
I don't know if I would have had the passion I have inside of me for the markets. I don't know.
So someone directly or indirectly played a role, and it's important for us to appreciate that and give back. Sometimes it is important. I remember I once called you crying because I felt the obligation was too much on me. But as you said, boundaries. And I love that. Now let's go to, because I know you've mentioned savings are able to live within your means. Now let's go to the interesting parts where everyone loves you about. That's investment, my friend. People are like, hey, bro, let's get to the investment side. Your first investment. Let's talk about your first ever investment.
Hey, guys,
what was it?
I am not even going to lie. Yeah. It was Cecil.
Oh, Cecil.
The reason I am a very loyal person. Yeah. So obviously I couldn't afford to go to university. My bursary, Cecil gave me a full bursary for my entire university education.
Oh, wow,
so
that's amazing.
I had a full bursary for my undergrad, my postgrad, and then I had to go work back my bursary, and I started work at Cecil.
Yeah.
I had to move from Cape Town to the Free State, and I understood the business. I still understand the business. You know, some people will say, Cecil is oil or Cecil is petrol. It's not.
Yeah.
If you understand the 200, 300 businesses that makes up that company and how passionate the engineers and the scientists and all the lab workers are, when it was time to make my first investment, I did what I often tell people to do. Invest in what you know, and or invest in what you use. So if you shop at ShopRite, start there.
Yeah.
I started with Cecil not because Cecil didn't even have petrol stations at that time. And I started with it. I think the shares were like 22 Rand or something like that.
Too early, my friend. You're there too early.
I remember when I bought Cecil the first time, the shares were 22 Rand.
Wow.
So I've always been a Cecil investor. And then obviously the share price went as high as 650 Rand. And then with COVID, it crashed to 25 Rand. And then I bought like 4,000 Cecil shares.
Wow.
In March of 2020 when it crashed, I think I bought about 4,000 Cecil shares at 25 Rand. I took 100,000 Rand and I was like, I am never going to get an opportunity like this again. So that was my first investment.
Wow.
And I still hold Cecil up to today.
Oh, wow. And one thing I love that you invest in something you understood. Yes. Something that you know, something that has played a role in your life. Yes. It makes the journey a little bit easier when you're starting.
Does.
Because that's something you know. You buy at ShopRite, you buy your food at ShopRite, you understand the bare minimum of ShopRite. Yes. So it makes more sense that to go buy shares of ShopRite than to go buy Pick and Pay that nobody uses.
I really think people should start with what they use. If you are a new investor, don't make things hard and go and buy Palantir or go and buy Tesla or buy something that you haven't interacted with.
Yeah.
Make it easier for yourself. Start with what you know and then take it from there.
Yeah.
People often ask me why do I use Audible? And I say, I'm an Amazon shareholder. So I like paying my own company, so sometimes it's not even that complicated.
It doesn't need it's not rocket science. It's simple. It's simple.
I use Audible for my audiobooks, and Audible is an Amazon company, a business, so I just keep it in the family.
Yeah. You want to complicate life. No. You don't want to complicate life. No, I love the fact that you're saying that simplicity makes things possible. And for you want things to be simple. So you're changing the simple ways through what you know. And I think that comes now to your education side as well. Because I started knowing you from Twitter. I was like, who's this? But I think you had a cartoon as your profile picture at the time.
For a long time.
I'm like, who's this troll? First time I was like, who's this troll fighting? I don't remember who you were fighting with. But you're fighting with someone who was saying something like, no, this doesn't work like this. I'm like, who's this troll? I'm checking at your profile. I'm like, this person simplifying life. So let's talk about that, my friend. The need for you to go public and say, let me teach the general sense. Like, What pushed you to say, hey, I'm taking my account with 100 followers and I'm going to teach those 100 people how to simplify investments, how to simplify saving? What was that spark that pushed you?
You know what pushed me was when I saw people investing their hard-earned money into things they don't understand. There was two things that honestly touched me. Was when people asked for help, a lot of the big accounts on Twitter would tell them, do your own research. And I got a lot of pushback when I said, you guys are telling people how to do their own research, but you're not telling them how.
Oh, yes.
You know, you're not telling them how. So if people don't know how to do something, then you can't blame them. The next thing is, you know, when, like, you can't disrespect your money. You work very hard for it. So the least you can do is understand the businesses because you're not buying, guys, you are not buying a share. You are buying a business.
An actual business.
You are buying an actual living, breathing entity, you know, that day in and day out is going to perform activities. Even if you can't read financial statements, Ivan, even if you don't know what a PE ratio is and a price to sales ratio, that's okay. For when I speak to my mentees and clients, etc., I say you need common sense to invest. You need common sense to invest. What does this company make? Is it needed? And is the management able to pull it off? Do I believe in this management team? Do they have previous successes? You know, if you look at anybody and they've achieved something, the chances are you can trust them.
You can trust them. They have a good track record.
Yeah, they have a good track record. So that's how I look at it, as that passion for me, that it really came from wanting to help people. And when somebody like told me, like, people are inherently lazy, I refuse to believe that. People are not inherently lazy. People don't know. So even if I help 10 people, you know, in my lifetime, that's 10 people more than if I didn't start this journey. So I'm going to keep teaching. Whoever wants to listen, you know, like, if you want to listen to me, I'm going to keep teaching, and I'm going to keep trying to simplify this, because Ivan, we were not taught these things around the dinner table. Some of us didn't even have a dinner table.
True.
Okay, so I remember going to Stellenbosch University, and I mean, I was there in the late 90s, and some of my friends who were in my class, who were obviously, you know, white, they were living off dividends. They were living off trust funds. I didn't even know what a dividend was. You know, these kids were getting dividends, and that, we can't let that be our kids. You know, so we have an obligation to teach them things that they are not learning at school.
True. And one thing I'm getting, like, every single time, is that you believe in the impact, in the work that you're doing. That's one thing I'm getting. And the second thing is that even if you help 10 people, remember, those 10 people have families. That's a generation you are helping, not just those 10 individuals, but it's a whole generation impacting, and you're helping a lot. And I love the fact that simplicity and also teaching how to do it, not just giving people, hey, this is the shares you need to buy, but how do you buy those shares? How do you research those companies? What must you have? What skills must you have? Because that's a skill that they're going to pass on to their kids. That's a skill that their kids are going to observe sometimes, not even damn teaching. And I love the fact that you're doing that. Teaching your lockdown. The career side, my friend. Let's go there. Career change.
Yes.
I understand it is, you're doing it because of the gene that you want to, of teaching. But the decision, my friend, how easy or how hard was it to make?
Because
here's the thing, we live in South Africa, my friend, where chartered accountant is the most respected profession, where everyone aspires to be. Everyone wants to be chartered accountant. And you're ICA. You know, like, I'm leaving it to go teach people on Twitter how to invest. Basically.
Yes, I am that crazy. So let me tell you, it was not an easy decision, but it was a natural decision.
Mm.
I have built a wonderful career, a beautiful network of people. I've worked with some of the smartest people in the industry.
Yeah.
Okay. I have learned so much from corporate South Africa, but I have reached the ceiling in what I wanted to achieve in corporate South Africa.
Yeah.
Some people will say, hey, but you are not a CFO yet. I've never wanted to be a CFO. You can ask any CFO that I've worked with, and they will tell you that I've never wanted their jobs. I am the person who makes CFOs look good.
Yeah.
I'm the person doing the work behind the scenes. I've always been that person. I love preparing financial statements. I love analyzing them. I love putting slides together. So I've done everything I've wanted to do in corporate South Africa.
Yeah.
I can literally stop working, but I don't want to stop working. I want to keep teaching.
Yeah.
So for me, you know how people say FIRE,
Yeah.
financial independence, retire early.
Yeah.
I have replaced the RE with recreational employment.
Ooh.
So it's financial independence. I feel like I am almost there.
Yeah.
So then I am going to work on what makes me happy.
Oh, yes.
So I have given corporate South Africa 2 decades, and I think I can give myself the next 2 decades of just giving back. So my hustle is not going to be about making as much money as I can. It's going to be about helping as many people as I can. And if I make money to go drink cocktails on a beach in Thailand, that's just going to be a bonus.
That's a plus on top.
Yes, that's just going to be a bonus. So I've been investing hard for the past 14 years. And I think I don't want to be rich.
Yeah.
I sometimes people think I'm crazy. I just want to be comfortable, and I am comfortable.
Yeah.
So now I can teach other people how to do it.
Yeah. I see, and I love that. But let me be the devil, my friend. I just want to be the devil. You have done a lot for corporate South Africa. And you're saying you have done it. But I think someone natural, like someone maybe supposed from my point of view and how I look, if I was like, I have done a lot for corporate South Africa, the natural thing would be like, international. But for you, you were like, let me give back.
I would. You know, people have asked me this ever since I qualified at university, if I would ever immigrate. I would never leave South Africa.
Yeah.
I have always said that this country has problems,
Yeah.
but me, I'm going to be part of the solution.
Solutions.
I will never leave my family. That's the first thing. I am very
Family-oriented.
Yes, I need to be within reaching distance of my parents all the time.
Yeah.
My nieces, my nephews.
Yeah.
We are very close-knit family. So international has never been an option for me. You know, some of my best friends live in Europe and in the UK and in the United States, and they are happy there and it works for them. I just know
It's not
it's
you.
not me.
It's not you.
It's not me. I can't not be 2-hour flight away from my mother and my father.
No, I see. And it's reasonable. But I just had to play the devil's advocate, my friend, because for me, typically, my mind, I'm like, I have reached the peak of what I can do in South Africa. How's London looking like? How's Beijing looking like? How's Australia like? I think that's a typical thing. But I have to say, for someone, I'm from Mpumalanga. I've always said one thing about me, just I love helping, especially back home. And the way you're saying it makes perfect sense, and I understand it. My friend, I don't want this episode to be too long. So I'm gonna throw the deep end right now. 3 companies, JSE.
JSE, 3 companies.
Top of your mind. Not reason.
Number 1,
Yeah.
Renergen. Number 2, Sabanye.
Yeah.
Number 3, Vukile.
The New York Stock Exchange. Top 3.
New York Stock Exchange. Number 1, Amazon.
Ooh.
Number 2, SoulFairy.
Yeah.
Number 3. Oh, this is a hard one, but I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna go with Nvidia.
Oh. I expected something else. I feel like I don't know you anymore. I feel like I don't know you. I expected something else.
No, you know what? My US portfolio is my US portfolio is a bit older than other people's US portfolios. So I tweet a lot about the new companies in my portfolio, but because this portfolio is
old,
you know, the Nvidias in there have been very, very good to me. And now I am seeing the significant pullback.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I was a new investor, I would be so happy with these prices right now. So for me, semiconductors, it makes sense. E-commerce has not even started yet. And I'm not really, if you look at my South African portfolio, you won't find an ABSA or an FNB in there.
My friend,
you know? So SoulFairy is a brand new bank, you know. Just got their banking charter last year. It's really going after the youth, like millennials and Gen Z. So I think it's such an exciting company. But I just want to tell people, whatever's happening now in the stock markets all over the world, don't bet against innovation. Do not bet against innovation. I'm not saying don't diversify your portfolios. Yeah. I also have the boring companies. I have Walmart in my portfolio. I have Home Depot. You know, those are the companies that just grows at 13, 14, 15%.
Oh no, they'll all be there to protect you.
You get your dividend. You know, you have your Chevrons and your Exxons, a little oil company. Diversify, but don't bet against innovation. I think a lot of people are scared right now, but this is normal. I've been here before.
No, I think the reason why a lot of us are nervous is because majority of people are COVID investors. People don't like using that term, but majority of people got into investment during the COVID time. So it's the first time they're seeing the market doing this and they're getting nervous. They don't know how to behave. A lot of people are selling, they're pulling out, they're getting a lot of confused because they're new investors. So I think it's comfortable to get someone like you say, hey, we have seen this before. We have survived this before. Yes. This is not new. It may be new to you because you're new to the investment platform, but it is not new.
It's not new, and the market has a 100% chance. It also has a 100% track record of recovering. You can't say after over 100 years, this time it's going to be different. No. If something has recovered 100% of the times in the past, it's going to recover again. You know, so if you are a COVID investor, a lockdown investor, I also bought a lot of things high, you know, over the past, even though I started investing a while ago, I also bought, a lot during the highs. So my average prices went up. So, but if you know what you bought, you know, if you have companies in your portfolio that you understand, if you have a diversified portfolio, you have nothing to stress about.
True,
honestly, you don't. You can comfortably average down in strong companies. I mean, why would you stress if you own Coca-Cola or if you own Pepsi or if you own, you know, Johnson & Johnson? These are big companies. You know, Kumba is doing really, really well. Nothing's going to happen.
By the way, you plugged me there. Yeah,
you owe me for Kumba. But buy good companies, average down, and forget about them. Just forget about them. It's hard when you start investing to close the portfolio. But I promise you, sometimes 2 weeks goes by without me opening my portfolio. I go in when I need to buy, or if those alerts, I get price alerts on my phone if something reaches a certain price, and then I go and buy. It's a very mechanical thing after a while. So if you got into investing in the past 2 years, I promise you, things are going to get better again. It's just nothing goes up forever.
Sometimes it must fix itself.
It must fix itself.
And I think just I have two more questions before. I know we are going over about the time we said, but I have two more questions. The first one, my friend, is because I'm a big fan of the JSE. I call myself the fanboy of the JSE. And you are more of an international USD investor. For someone who's been like, I've been a fanboy of the JSE, what's the number one, don't want to say tip, but what's the number one thing they need to have before going international? what's number one thing that they need to be a show of before saying, hey, I'm going to buy a Coca-Cola, hey, I'm going to buy Amazon, whatever the case is?
Let me tell you, Ivan, why I am so focused on the US stock market in my personal portfolio. Is remember, I've been working for 20 years in corporate South Africa, which means I have a pension fund. Now, pension funds have Regulation 28. And now Regulation 28 says it dictates where your pension fund can invest your money. My pension fund can't just go and buy Amazon. It can't just go and buy property in Australia. It can't do what it wants to. The Act determines where my money is invested, which means most of my pension fund and my provident fund and preservation fund monies are in the JSE. It would not make sense for me as somebody who has a pension fund to then duplicate what my pension fund is doing in the US. So that's why I'm very focused on the US. But what I want people to know is before you go into any market, study the macroeconomy. You know, study what moves the market. So like many people will say, like, when are you going to buy Australian stocks? I only recently finished studying, you know, what's happening in the Australian economy, reading the Australian, and it's not studying. It's literally reading the news.
I was about to say the same thing because we had this conversation, I think, in March. When I was here, March, right?
Yes.
And I was like, after I was like, okay, and I started following newsletters from Australia just to get the politics of Australia, to understand the basic of governance in Australia.
That's it.
Before I can put my money there.
That's it. Because remember, we said we're not going to invest in an economy we don't understand. So now we're going into Australia. We don't know the politics. We don't know the environment. We don't know the type of companies that, you know, what are Australians loving or hating. We see a lot of American TV. So, and we buy a lot of American products like Apples and your Amazons and your Googles, etc. If we are going to go into a new area, we need to understand the economy first, and then we go into companies. As we read the news, then companies pop up. So when I say study, I don't mean sit down with a book and read. I say download an app on your phone.
That alerts you about news of
and that alerts you. The Wall Street Journal is free. There's a free section on every app. Just do the free stuff. You know, the other thing is stop paying for premium content just because you believe it's going to make you money. Stop. You know, everybody should first consume free content and see what is good and see what is not good. So make it a process. Don't try to rush it. And then start small. That is the biggest thing is when you're going into a new geography, start small. You know, buy $10 of Johnson & Johnson, buy like for $5 maybe of Apple. Start small, and when something is in your portfolio, what you're going to do is you're going to be interested. Because now it's not just a dream, you know, it's there in your portfolio. You can see the $10 is now $11. It's gone up 10%, you know, and then you will keep reading. So I want people to know, start small, practice in demo accounts if you have to, practice in demo accounts. And then when you're ready, go to the live account. There's no need to rush this. We say we are long-term investors, but then we try to force things very quickly.
True. And I think the other thing as well is just said there. When you start small and you put that 50 rand there, it will force you to learn. Maybe to a quick story. My first investment on that other app was I bought Mr. Price, right? I only knew Mr. Price, the clothing one. I didn't know there was Mr. Price Home, Mr. Price Sports, but because I spent 50 rand from my pocket, I was supposed to spend to buy sweets at school, I knew that there was Mr. Price Home, there was Mr. Price Sports. I knew the directors of Mr. Price. And that's the thing, the one thing about us, especially the retail investors, the small guys, that we work hard for our money. And the second we put in a specific company, that will force us to know about it.
You know, yesterday I researched for the past 2 days, because I don't have a lot of time in between. I was researching Uber, and we know Uber, the drivers
Yeah.
and the food delivery, but I was reading about Uber Freight, about the trucks, how they are using artificial intelligence, for the trucking industry. I was reading about Uber Charter, the party buses for weddings and, wine tasting. So it's like for groups, etc. I was reading about Uber Travel, where you're going to be able to book
I'm
flights
learning something new
and
here.
flights and stuff. So that's what I want to say is I don't have a lot of money in Uber, but because I want to put in more and the share price looks really good right now, I went and I studied it and I was like, is there something that Uber is doing? I was reading about Uber advertising and how based on your location they will push you the exact ad, and companies will pay for that because targeted advertising or in the back of a car. So research, as daunting as it sounds, because the gatekeepers have for a long time made us think that it's so hard. It's not hard. It's logic.
My friend, let me just say this. You have a TikTok account, you have an ebook, you have a YouTube channel, you're big on Twitter, you are creating content to simplify that. And I think, like literally, if anyone's saying research is hard, they need to go check your platforms out.
Yes,
I will
please.
put them in the description of this video. I'm going to put all your platforms. But that's the thing, my friend. The one thing you've done well is that you have made the idea of research not to look scary.
It isn't scary.
But even in your book, in your ebook, you simplify the steps to be followed. You tell people basically, look for this. If that's not there, look for that.
Yep.
In your TikTok account, you are telling people, look for this, manage this how. And if this not there, that must be there. And I think that's the beauty of it, that the word do your own research is no longer hard. If someone does say do your own research, okay, so I must look for this and that and that and that.
Yes.
So I know how to do my own research.
You have to tell people the how.
Yeah.
You can't just tell people the what. And everybody must have their own why.
True.
Because I can tell you I'm investing for my daughter, for the next generation. If you are investing, find your why.
Yeah.
Then we will explain to you how. I will help you with the how.
Yeah.
So investing is for everyone.
True. And one thing, so I will say investing is for everyone. I will say this, investing gives dignity.
Yes.
Because investing comes with ownership.
Yes.
And for us, people of color, one thing we have been refused of was ownership.
Yes.
And the only way, like sometimes we cannot give people the land, but the small shares that someone will have at Sasol, the small shares will have at ShopRite, make him feel the level of pride because he knows I own something there. There's 100 rand of mine there. And that's something really important. That's a journey. And that's something that the journey that you're starting can never be, no one can refuse that. The dignity you are giving our people. And that's why I say, my friend, I have this series for me just to say, people like you, we are appreciating you guys. Because indirectly we are giving our people dignity. Indirectly we are teaching people how to create wealth, how to save generations. Indirectly, what even you knowing. Because you may find out there is umama who works as a cleaner somewhere in a township, now is buying shares of Mr. Price.
So happy.
And now I can be able to say, hey, and when it goes to Mr. Price, he knows I own this.
Yes.
There's a level of pride. When it goes month end, he knows that I'm going to buy more of this. He can point at it, you understand? And that's something my friend I want to say, thank you for doing. And this episode is just to show you to share your story. Oh, I forgot one thing. Top 3 cryptos.
Oh,
Top 3 cryptos.
Ethereum.
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Canada.
Oh, thank God you mentioned Canada. I want to kill you right there. Because we're like, hey, bro, we asked the JSE stocks, we asked the young stock. Why am I forgetting top 3 cryptos? But this is my friend. Thank you so much for your work that you are doing. It really is amazing. I'll put all the socials in the video description of this video and I'll release it. But my friend, any last words you want to say to our retail investors?
Never stop investing and never let people tell you that it is hard.
Yeah.
Okay? And don't give up during this bear market, please, because I'm going to come back in 4 years and tell you guys, I told you so, when I'm rich by myself.
In Dubai, in a yacht.
Yes. When I'm shaking something on a yacht in Dubai. Please, guys, don't stop. This bear market is an opportunity. A lot of millionaires are going to emerge from this, and let it be people who look like us and come from where we come from.
True. But thank you so much, my friend, for the opportunity just to sit down with you, have this conversation, and was amazing. And I said, I don't believe in scripts. I don't believe in... Man, you gotta talk here. Question pops in here. I ask. So, guys, that was it. That was another episode of the Sit Down Investor talking to SoulFairy. I'll put all her social media accounts in the description of this video. But as always, guys, please ensure that you like this video, share it with a friend, subscribe, and let's keep on building this community. And also, my apologies, guys. I know for the past 3 months, I have not been releasing a lot of content. Academics, my friend.
I know.
Academics, this low degree, guys. This low degree. But guys, I understand, man. School first, content later. But thank you so much for the support, guys. I truly appreciate it. I've seen when I was off from posting, the subscribers have been increasing, not me posting any new content. That shows that you guys are still loving the content I'm putting out that was still there. So thank you so much for watching. As always, I am Ivan Spacing Sambo, your student investor.